Energy costs remain unbearably high for too many Americans. What would you do to lower the cost of energy and make America less dependent on foreign sources of oil?
First, my answer is simple. Drill, baby, drill. Yep. Yep. I was born in Minneapolis, but I grew up a good part of my youth in North Dakota, where the oil fields were rich, and North Dakota prospered, and there's no reason that the whole United States cannot prosper from using our natural resources. I do think that there's totally room for nuclear energy. We need to go back to nuclear. I think that some of the green energy is good, but long term, we're not there yet. Fossil fuels are still where we're at, and I think we will be for at least another generation.
Yes, I agree. I think we need to drill, get our own oil right here in America, whether it's solar, wind, and of course plant more trees. But we need to get our resources right here and quit buying overseas. That's another one of our spending that's just way too much. We're paying way too much for barrels of oil that we can get in our own backyards, and I think that's what we need to start doing immediately.
I support developing every energy source that we can do so in a common sense way. And if you look at countries such as France, they have small nuclear plants. Nothing is contaminating, and in fact, they use spent fuel from the larger plants. There are ways we can go, I believe, to drill, obviously. The Biden administration's attitude toward the Keystone Pipeline and other pipelines, I think, has helped actually Putin by giving him another source to sell their oil. And we need to be competitive. That's one of our strengths. I support that. I'm concerned about our electric grid. I mean, everybody's talking about going to electric. We need to be concerned about our electric grid. Locally, we've got a big issue with the Herc plant, which is in downtown Minneapolis. It takes about half the garbage in Hennepin County. If that isn't used for producing electricity and steam, we're going to have landfills out here. You're going to have garbage trucks coming out here with garbage. That plant was built to convert waste to energy. And I think we need to be strong supporters of that, unless you want to have your air and water contaminated out here, because we're going to have more and more landfills.
Cut you off, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Energy, of course, is an issue that falls under my firm belief in free enterprise. Freedom and free enterprise, remember I talked about that. The American oil industry and the American alternative energy industries have done a great job of making America less oil dependent on OPEC. Remember when I was a kid, maybe some of you were too, OPEC was the big thing in the news and we were at its mercy. We are not anymore because we have allowed free enterprise to do its thing. We should continue to do that. We should incentivize creativity of our private industry to make America great again and less energy dependent. The concepts such as loan guarantees, tax credits, grants to incentivize cleaner energies should continue, but we don't need the government making mandates on what private industry can and can't do. We should let private industry do what free enterprise drives it to do, and we'll have plenty of energy.
President Biden continues to lead a global coalition in support of Ukraine in its fight against Russia, but further U.S. funding is held up by Republicans seeking to have their way on immigration. Where do you stand in the Ukraine-Russia conflict, and what are you willing to do for the position you have taken on this issue?
So I think the call to support Ukraine has resonated with basically everybody that I've met. But people rightly worry about the strain of the prolonged conflict on our military, the resources, and our finances. Michael, in fact, when I was meeting with Michael from Osseo, he put it succinctly. Our aid must be stringent and accountable, ensuring each dollar strengthens Ukraine defense without falling prey to corruption. I think there's a lot of corruption going on. We got to figure out how to control that. The crisis in Ukraine underscores the universal importance of our secure borders. As we aid them, we're reminded of the critical need to safeguard our own nation. If we commit to Ukraine's territorial integrity, we must equally commit to enforcing our own, not as an option, but as an obligation. Stand firm for Ukraine and stand firm for America.
Well, I'm not a fan of the war, and I don't think we should fund it anymore. How is that America first when we're giving them our money when we need it? That is not America first. And to start this Make America Great Again, we've got to start right here in our backyard. I'm sorry, but I'm cutting off the international funding. Thank you.
I'm concerned about our forever wars, how we get involved, never get out. In Ukraine, I support democracy, but I'm also concerned about corruption. I'm concerned about our national debt. I mean, we each carry $100,000 in national debt with us day after day. I'm concerned about that. Americans do have to come first, and I support that. I'm very concerned about corruption when we send money overseas.
Lonnie, I believe that the principle of integrity controls what we do in Ukraine. We are dependent on and have promised the world that democracies will be defended by us. We will defend democracy wherever it needs defending. Our word must be good. We must protect our allies. We must get them to trust us that we will defend them. If we want to be great again, we have to be the biggest, greatest military power in the world, and we must have all of the bad actors of the world know that we will stand behind our allies. This is one of the things we do want to spend money for, is our military and our ability to defend democracy across the world. We have a great strength of manufacturing capability. We have plenty of ability to create weapons. We have plenty of money to buy weapons to defend democracy, and that's what we did in World War II, and that's what my uncles fought to do, was to protect Europe from bad actors, in that case Germany, and now we're looking at Taiwan and Russia, so and China, so we need to continue that.
Thank you. An armed conflict between Israel and Hamas-led Palestinian militant groups has been taking place chiefly in and around the Gaza Strip since October 7th of last year, when Hamas launched a surprise attack on southern Israel from the Gaza Strip. Do you support Israel's right to defend herself, and what do you think America's role should be in this conflict?
Well, I made myself pretty clear in the last one. Hey, if they can't bring it to the table and work things out, I don't know what else they can be done, but funding them is not going to solve their personal religious issues. It's just not going to solve it. They'll keep going and then get funding from someone else and someone else. When does it stop? The only way to really stop it if we went in there and just destroyed them all. I mean, that's just it, because it's never going to stop. They don't stop. And I'm sorry, I don't agree with helping them. I just don't. I think we should just focus on America, focus on what we need to do at our borders, because we're being invaded right now, and it needs to stop.
I support Israel. They have the right to defend themselves. What happened October 7th, I think, was just a tragedy. They need to root out the monsters that created it. I believe they're doing that. and I support Israel.
On this one, you'll be glad to know that I agree completely with what Tad just said. Israel is one of our staunchest allies. They have been with us for a long time. And for people like Hamas to attack our ally, we need to help our ally. I don't think they're asking us for nearly as much funding. They're much more well off than some of our allies. We do provide some funding. We're not providing manpower, but more than anything else, we need to not cave into these protests around America from Hamas. We need to stick behind Israel and not tell it how to defend itself. They can defend themselves, and we should support whatever they do to defend themselves.
I would agree. We fully need to support Israel and Jewish people around the world for sure. And I think the atrocity, the attack that happened in October was, if you look at it proportion-wise for our 9/11, I've read it's anywhere between 10 to 13 times more tragic than our 9/11. And that just, we can't have that. Not with an ally like that, we can't have that. So we need to defend Israel, we need to stand by her, and we need to be there full support of Israel.
Changing gears slightly, State Senator Kelly Morrison is the likely Democrat nominee for Minnesota's 3rd Congressional District. She is an OB/GYN and has dedicated her career making sure women have a right to choose, and abortion rights will no doubt be the main issue in which she runs on, mainly, possibly the only issue on which she runs on. Are you pro-life? Are you pro-choice? And how will you message this to moderate families in the suburbs that make up a large percentage of the voting bloc in the 3rd Congressional District?
I'm pro-life. I see every abortion as a tragedy. And when I speak to people, I don't know anyone who would like to jail women. I don't know anyone that would. We're all made in the image of God. And I support alternatives to abortion, any type of support for adoption, for foster parenting, for pregnancy clinics. That's what we need to do, is support that effort, and I will clearly do that. I would do everything in my power to find consensus, and I believe we can find consensus. I'm pro-life.
I agree with Lonnie that this will be a major issue in this election, like it will be in all elections. Dr. Morrison, as you know, probably is one of the co-authors of the bill allowing abortion in Minnesota without limitation. She's done this in the Minnesota State Senate. She's also the lead author of the assisted suicide bill. So how do we defeat that? We have to have a seat at the table in Washington, D.C. The Democrats will use this against us as their lead issue, as Lonnie said. And why do they do that? Because the voters believe in allowing a woman to have an abortion. So what I believe in is limited government. I don't like the government, and I don't think most people like the government banning things. And this is an issue of the heart. So where the government interacts with this issue is, I'm personally pro-life, but I don't think this is an issue the United States Congress can solve. And it's the wrong issue for us as Republicans to push in this district, in this election, this year.
So I'm a true conservative, and I'm pro-life, absolutely pro-life. And what's interesting with this current law that we have in Minnesota, women, they want to say that women have more rights and more options. They actually have less rights and less options, because with this funding of this, the passing of this bill, the funding of of different pro-life and pro-life counseling, a lot of those clinics have closed. The funding went away, and a lot of those clinics have closed. So actually, women have less options now than they did before the funding of this bill and the passing of this law. So I think we need to advocate for a policy that fosters life. We need to foster life. There's adoption. There's all sorts of options. So definitely pro-life. And I think that if Kelly Morrison gets to Washington, rather than trying to make this a state-by-state issue, which it should be, she's going to try to take our extreme law and make it the law of the land, and that just makes me sick.
Yeah, this is more of a state issue than federal issue, but my personal opinion and choice, I'm pro-life, of course, but if we're going to have this, I just believe that, and this is one of the reasons why I want to be in that room when these decisions are being made. I want to bring some common sense to the table. I want to understand what's going on. And if we're going to do this, of course, very rare and very safe, we have to look out for the ladies that if it's going to be legal. But I am 100% pro-life. Thank you.
A majority of conservatives and a great deal of independent Americans feel that there are two tiers of justice in America, specifically unequal treatment of justice under the law and the Biden administration's politicalization of the American justice system. Many believe we are running out of time to restore trust in our federal law enforcement agencies, and many are running out of patience with the stonewalling of agency leaders. If elected to Congress, will you make it a priority to do your part to investigate, expose, and demand answers, and to withhold funding, hold in contempt, and even impeach where necessary?
I wrote a blog post one time called Infant to Congress. Legislate. Don't investigate. No, I would not be spending my time investigating and conducting formal investigations so that I and all my fellow colleagues in Congress could make speeches about how awful things are. I would actually do something rather than hold investigative hearings, and I would pass laws rather than make a scene and make a show out of the fact that I'm investigating the Department of Justice or investigating someone else. There's been way too much of that going on. It's like sports fans. We never think that the refs are fair in our favor. They're always against us. Well, when we were in power, the other side thought we were investigating their departments too much. Now we're trying to do it back to them. I think that's not the main business of Congress, and I would stay out of telling the Justice Department how to do its business.
If elected to Congress, I would focus on three things. First, I'd focus on securing our borders. Second, public safety. And third, making the economy shine. I agree with Quentin, spending time at this point investigating different things. We have to take care of our borders foremost. That is just a drain for us. We need to secure our borders. That would be my priority.
Yeah, I agree. The borders are very important right now to not only reduce crime, but help our police officers grow their force and have less pressure on them. I would not investigate. I think that would be a waste of time. A lot of taxpayer money there. And I would just focus on really strengthening the borders, not only federally, but also in the state, making immigration very, very tough to have, and making these illegal immigrants leave right now. Thank you.
So, Tad, are there two tiers of justice, and what would you do?
Clearly, I think Congress does have a role. And the reason it has a role, it has to hold people accountable. You can't... I'm looking locally. I mean, we're all familiar with what happened to Kim Potter. Yeah, it was a situation that went from Hennepin County over to Washington County and then up to the State Attorney General's office because of politics. What do you have right now with Lenegren in Hennepin County and Mary Moriarty? It's politics. And it's a situation where you're supposed to disclose the evidence against the defendant. She didn't do it. It contaminates the whole system. You have to have Congress there looking at it, investigating, holding people accountable. That's what I would do.
The average length of service for representatives at the beginning of the 118th Congress was 8.5 years, which comes out to be 4.3 House terms. For United States Senators, it was 11.2 years, which comes out at 1.9 Senate terms. Do you support term limits? And if yes, what do you think is an acceptable amount of time one should serve in Congress?
Absolutely. I support term limits. I think 3 terms would be right. I think that this is a great opportunity. Look at the options. Look at the opportunities that we have right now because of Dean Phillips vacating the spot. America will get fresh choices. America will get fresh voices. And I think 3 terms for Congress, 2 terms, maybe 3 for Senate, but 3 for Congress is the right number.
I think that way as well. I think 3 if they're doing a good job, 1 if they're doing a bad job. So, seriously, I mean, we got people in there that don't start working until 6 months before campaigning again. So people got to get in there and start working right away. If they're not working right away, I think we should fire them. And I certainly would want to be fired if I wasn't doing my job. So thank you.
I won't serve more than 8 years. In any case, I give Dean credit, Dean Phillips credit. He says we need a new president. I finally agreed with him on something. And he called the Democrat Party completely delusional. I agree with him on that, too. But I leave it up to the voters. It's up to the voters whether they want to keep somebody in office. Sometimes it's good to have some seniority, somebody who can do their job, hold the administration accountable, hold the bureaucrats accountable. I trust the voters.
I've studied the issue of term limits a lot. I didn't say this earlier, but I'm a retired lawyer. And there's a little problem with term limits. The United States Constitution applies term limits to one office and one office only, the President of the United States, 2 terms, based on an amendment passed in the 1950s. So people have said we need term limits, and it's easy to say we need term limits, and we do. But there's a process for that. You have to amend the United States Constitution. There have been thousands of attempted amendments of the United States Constitution over the years. It's almost impossible for them to pass because it has to pass 3/4 of the states to pass that. The politicians in some of those states aren't going to want to have term limits because it's them they would be talking about. And if we could get a constitutional amendment for term limits, 2 terms for the House, 2 terms for the Senate would be plenty for me, just like the 2 terms for the United States. But we have to do it constitutionally.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you to the candidates for watching the time schedule. We're doing really well, and you'll be happy to know that we're getting all of the questions in, so thank you. If elected to Congress, what would be your priorities and what committees would you like to serve on?
Priorities. Well, it's a good question. There's a few that I really, really like, and But I want to get there and investigate first. I'm not one who likes to just, put the horse before the cart kind of thing. Me getting in there and using my resources and finding out what is the best way to help the party would be my priority, rather than take my selfish things that I want to do and do them first. So I would look at, looking at where they need me to help them. So that's basically what I would do. I'd be there to help the party in whatever needs I need to do, and also make sure that our state is heard loud and clear what we need to do. Thank you.
I'd vote and represent the 3rd District. That'd be my highest priority. Now, in terms of issues, I'd want to make illegal immigration illegal again, make crime illegal again, and take the uncontrolled budget and bring it under control again. Those would be my 3 top priorities. In terms of committees, certainly I think anybody going there would like to be on the Ways and Means Committee. Now, as a freshman, you're not going to get on the Ways and Means Committee. But I think being either on Judiciary, where it can hold investigative hearings, or Commerce. Commerce, there are so many businesses in the 3rd District, I think would serve the needs of the citizens of the 3rd District the best. Those would be the committees I'd look at. Thank you.
I have exactly the same priorities as my colleagues here. National defense through a strong military would cause me to want to be on the defense committees, homeland security related committees, and then fiscal issues would cause me to want to be on commerce as well. Many of those businesses in our district were clients of mine when I was a lawyer, and I think that they do great things for our economy in this 3rd District, and I want to make sure that free enterprise continues throughout our land. And I suppose as a former lawyer, being on the Judiciary Committee would be another one that would be a possibility for me, and I think I have a lot to add to that as well.
For me, I think I might be uniquely positioned. I would pick to be in the Science and Technology Committee. I'm a technology guy, have been my whole career, and I think that we have huge vulnerabilities in our infrastructure due to cybersecurity, cyber attacks, and I think I'm uniquely positioned to get in there and actually understand when they start talking about TCP/IP and distress attacks. I actually know what they're talking about. So I would definitely choose the Science and Technology Committee, and then also the Commerce Committee. I'm a businessman as well, so those would be the 2 top priorities for me.
Minnesota has a long history of candidates, both Republicans and Democrats, having to run multiple times to win an election. If you don't win this cycle, are you committed to running a second time for the same office?
I never say never, but I expect that this is our best opportunity. I looked at having an open seat. You've got Dean Phillips. He doesn't have the big war chest. Our opponent is not going to be as well positioned as Dean Phillips has been. This is our opportunity. And by seeing the crowd here tonight, I am so enthused that we will do it. This is a Republican seat. And this is our best opportunity. And if you look at what's going on in the U.S. House right now, there's a 2-seat margin. So this is a critical seat, and you do make a difference here. There's not going to be a second chance, I don't think.
I agree with that. This is our year, with Kelly Morrison being the nominee for the Democratic Party. This is our chance if we nominate the right candidate. And this is my moment in time, I believe, as a person who will be viewed in this centrist district. Overall, a very moderate centrist district, if not left-leaning. I will be viewed as the person who is not an extremist and not a person who they want to vote against. So I believe that I can win this district, and this is my one chance to do it. I was a happily retired man who has 2 daughters, 2 son-in-laws, and a grandson. I'm running principle-based politics. I'm perfectly content, and I think that if I get elected this time, it is to serve a duty for America and for the 3rd District, and I haven't thought about the next time yet.
So I think God put us all here together right now. Right now, this is our time, and this is our watch. And when I look around and see what's going on with the country, I can't idly stand by and just watch our country go to hell. So that's why I'm here. I believe we need to take our country back. We need to get this seat. This is our watch. This is our opportunity. Again, I'm not thinking down the road, because I think this is a seat that we have to win. I'm putting all my energy, all my efforts into winning this one right now. Right now, this is the time to do it.
I started this several years ago and believed this was my calling. I've always been in the service type of industry, whether it's helping people in their fitness and spiritual minds, or the restaurant business, serving them. I love serving people. I lost a great deal and decided to get in and just be that common voice of reason. No fancy degree, no great education, just a businessman that rose to the top by hard grind. I've rose to the top in everything I've ever done. I became a world champion. I wrote a book. I invented my own product that helps Parkinson's disease. I like contributing and helping people. But if I don't win the primary at this time, I don't believe I'll run again. I really like helping people. I love the people I've met. I love building these relationships. I would love to represent you in Congress. I think I would do a great job. I could be your voice if you wanted me to, but if it doesn't happen and that's what's God's will, I will accept that. Thank you.
It is now time for closing remarks, where the candidates will go in the reverse order from the opening remarks, and each candidate will be given 2 minutes. But before we do that, could we have a round of applause for our candidates here this evening?
I don't get to catch my breath. No.
That's why we did the applause.
Thank you. So, thank you all so much for coming out here tonight, my friends that came, Randy for putting this on, the other candidates, my friends here at the table here. They're great guys, and I think I can reiterate that this is going to be a tough choice for y'all. I do ask you do your due diligence, find out who is going to be your best candidate. I would absolutely support that as well and back them 100% if you choose that. I think that we have a really good opportunity this time. I don't think the Democrats have a chance against these 4 handsome guys. So, again, thank you so much for coming out. I do enjoy meeting everybody, and I think most of you that I've gotten to know, I've built really good friendships with. I would love to continue doing that. Thank you again.
I echo Brad's sentiments there. I mean, we run into these guys at the same events, and they're great guys. So I think it's a tough choice. But tonight's dialogue brings us to a stark realization. Our nation's challenges at the borders, our communities, and our finances are deeply interconnected. We must start with a firm foundation to address them, which means securing our borders. Send me to Washington as I'm ready to hit the ground running. My team and I have already created what we're calling the Border Guards Initiative. If you go out and check out theborderguards.com, we're working with a new wave of lawmakers that are dedicated to a single mission, crafting and passing a joint resolution to fortify our nation's borders. There's going to be 51 open seats this year in Congress, 51. that gives us an extraordinary chance for change that's never happened before. We're going to unite as newcomers. We're going to be driven by a shared purpose to present a bill as transparent as our intentions. This bill is more than just policy, it's a commitment. We pledge to you that we will act decisively on the American people's demands. This initiative is the first step in a journey that renews our dedication to public safety and fiscal prudence. It's a new dawn for democracy, a testament to the function of our republic, and a call to action for every citizen who believes in the promise of this great nation. So join me as we embark on this critical mission. Together we'll chart a path towards a secure, prosperous, and free future, a true new page for America.
Thanks, Jamie. I'm going to have to go back to the slogan I was thinking of using, rock solid, Wittrock solid, because you've got the page for America. That's very good. We can all do that with our names. Thank you for your time and attention tonight, as Brad and Jamie said, and I echo their sentiments about what a pleasure and an honor it is to be even up here in front of you here tonight. My priorities for the U.S. Congress, as I've said, involve national security, which includes securing our national borders. We all agree on that. National debt, which is caused by excessive federal spending. The U.S. House has failed to pass budgets, let alone balanced budgets. Preserving the Social Security Trust Fund, which Congress to date has not had the courage to do, and it is going to run out on me and you and everyone else in 7 or 8 years. We have to face up to that issue and actually do something about it, as Brad says, rather than sit around and talk about issues. And then protecting our freedoms in all forms, free enterprise, individual freedoms. That's a top priority for me. The Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and the Bible provide the basis we need for all the principles you need to run a federal government. These are issues that concern the 3rd District as a whole, and not just the Republicans in the 3rd District. There is a broad consensus on each of my 4 top issues. The vast majority of voters overall will vote for a candidate with these priorities. Not only the right and the center will vote for him, but the independents and the center-leaning left. It will only be the far left candidate voters who vote for Dr. Kelly Morrison. And so if we nominate a responsible, respected candidate who is positive, we can win in this general election by tying ourselves not to any particular politician, but to the principles and the policies that I am advancing.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here tonight. It's been a privilege to participate in the forum. Republicans have a chance to take back this open congressional seat in the 3rd District. I'm the Republican candidate who can win. Together we'll restore secure borders, legal immigration, peace through strength, uphold our Constitution. We'll restore safe streets and neighborhoods, support law enforcement, first responders, military veterans. We'll restore academic excellence, parents' rights in schools, safe spaces for girls, and bathrooms and sports. We'll restore a prosperous economy with free markets, do no harm health care, secure Social Security, common sense environmentalism. We're fed up with sky-high inflation, uncontrolled borders, child trafficking, 100,000 fentanyl deaths per year. We're fed up with reckless, out-of-control government spending, unsafe, unmanaged light rail, crime, carjackings. We're fed up with identity politics, dumbed-down education, indoctrination of our children, and we're fed up with men playing in women's sports. We're fed up with the cultural elite Democrats that don't care. I care. I care about Minnesota, about America. That's why I'm running. I'm a problem solver. I take these challenges, and they can be solved. Faith, family, freedom, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness with an equal opportunity for all. These are values worth fighting for. They're Minnesota values, they're Republican values, they're my values. I will fight for you, for Minnesota, and for America. And I can't do this alone. I need your help. Together we'll take back this open seat in Congress. Together we'll restore the promise of Minnesota, the promise of America. You can go to my website to volunteer, donate, and thank you for being here.
Well, thank you to our candidates. Thank you to our audience. Thank you to our online viewers. I'm just reminded by the Teddy Roosevelt quote of the man in the arena. Thank you for being in the arena. And I just want to leave you with one of my favorite passages from the book of 2 Timothy. I fought the good fight, I finished the race, and I kept the faith. So, gentlemen, go out there, fight the good fight, finish the race, and keep the faith. God bless. Thank you for everybody for being here.
Wasn't that Nixon in the arena? Yeah.
Good job. Wow, you guys, this is going to be a hard one. Good job. Great job.
Do you have a card? I do. I'm with Carol and Republican women.
Great job.
Thank you.
And I got my house.